Welcome back to our next session. Guys, one after another, and they're like stacking on top of each other, and it's almost in sequential order. I don't know if Joey did that on purpose, but if she didn't, I think it feels really good. We started the day with communication, the backbone, good situations, bad situations, always start with the art of communication. Then we gave you the good situations, the weddings, and now we're going to give you the big bad defensive guy. And if you can't tell right now, I look just as tall as Justin. Okay. But if you saw us in person and live, you'd realize quickly that at 5'5", I'm nowhere near as tall as he is. So guys, we've all been there. We all understand the different things that come along with guests. Most of the time, you can smell a fishy guest just by the way that they communicate with you, by the way they answer their messages after they book, and all of these things. What are the defense systems? What are the guards, right? We all say, well, I'm going to go on ChatGPT. I'm going to build a rental agreement. Cool. But is it good enough? Can we enforce? Can we protect ourselves? How do we make sure that A, we protect ourselves in the moment, but if we burn the bridge, what long-term impact, and how are we going to lose guests and stop getting favoritism in the algorithm and all of these other things? Breezeway's been around for, guys, longer than we all have in the short-term rental space, maybe not longer than Tracy, but they're a fantastic partner, they're a fantastic provider in this space, and Justin's going to talk to you all about risk management. Justin Ford, it's such a pleasure and a privilege to be bringing you up here. Let's go.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm getting off to a little bit of a late start. A lot of interest in weddings. Fun fact: I'm a U.S. Coast Guard licensed ship captain. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up. But I actually used to officiate weddings, and I've officiated over 30 weddings. To my knowledge, none of them have ever gotten divorced. So I've got some secret powers there when it comes to that. Gonna jump right in. I've got a presentation. We're gonna talk about some safety here today, and I'm gonna make it interesting. And um, I'm gonna give you a big gift here at the end. So hold on out. I've got something really special to share at the end of what I'm doing here. So let me just quickly um, bring up my screen, and here we go. So if you don't know who I am, I've been around for a bit. This is my 28th year in the industry, and I work for Breezeway. My background is I served in the U.S. Coast Guard and was a firefighter for 15 years. And then I started and grew from one property to managing as many as 600, what became the largest vacation rental company in the entire Northeastern US. So, big background in vacation rental operations and safety going back multiple decades. I'm really proud, not so much of the award. I love the award for me and my name up there, obviously, but I'm sharing this with you because getting this award was really important to advancing safety and short-term rentals on a global scale, as you can see there. This is really absolutely fantastic that the globe is saying, all right, safety is important to us. And what was really special for me is that I was there with Jody when she got her award. I was actually Jody and I were nominated for the same award. I got the one award, she got the other. So it all worked out. That's why it's really special for me to be here working to present and talk about safety today. And one of the things that I want to share, yeah, there's Jody and I when we won our award. One of the things that I want to share is something I caught Jody saying on a podcast probably 9, 10 months ago. I'm not sure. I apologize. I can't give credit to the podcast, but it's what Jody said. I want you to listen to what she said here because it really applies a lot to safety.
A lot of people think we're property managers, but we're actually in the hospitality business. Well, that's my thought of it. I'm a hospitality business. I'm not a property manager. I look after people as well as properties.
I look after people. I'm in the hospitality business. You can't look after people and be in the hospitality business and you unless you care about your guests, and you can't care about your guests unless you put safety first. Hands down. I want to quickly switch gears though and point out that there are a lot of people out there that are not putting safety first and they're going to jail. It's a very serious thing that's happening. It's not happening just in the US, it's happening in other parts of the world. We are now at a level in our industry where in the past 12 months, people have gone to jail because their short-term rentals weren't safe. I always tell people when I share these pictures, these are the scariest photos I can show. All four of those hosts are good people. The mugshots make them look horrible. These are all online, AP Wire. I'm not posting something that's private, or you shouldn't. These guys have had their photos posted millions and millions of times in the press, online, around the world. On the left, they're being told that people, two college age girls just died in their short term rental because there were no working smoke alarms. They had been working, they just didn't keep checking them like they should. And they pled guilty a year ago. And then you have two others that here on the right that were charged with manslaughter. Again, no working smoke alarms. And when these situations happen, I don't want to discredit the horror of what's happened. This young teacher here on the left, the woman on the left, and her young baby both died in that Airbnb fire in New York. This was less than a year ago. Um, and when they died, it was horrific. I'm not taking away from that, but I want to point out that a lot of other really bad things then continue to carry on. We're a year out from this fire and it's still making headlines. If you're curious, just real quick, how this happened, basically, she's a school teacher from Cape Cod, or she was. He was a police officer from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. They went out and got in the hot tub after they put the kids to bed. They had their back to the house while they were in the hot tub. They heard some crackling noises, sound of breaking glass, and turned around to see the house was fully engulfed. I haven't seen any reports on what started the fire, but both the kids were in the room. The gentleman was able to get his son out. The mom was unable to get out with their daughter, and so they perished in that fire. And now we're seeing constant things come as a result of it. We're seeing where Massachusetts, this is making tons of news in the Northeast, is looking to ban short-term rentals. There's several different bills that are out there proposing all these changes, all this negative publicity for our industry when these things happen. And a lot of people don't understand how much negative press is out there when it comes to short-term rentals. I did a LinkedIn post earlier this week that talked about, we've got all these serious things that are coming up in the headlines in our industry, and there isn't one person in the short-term rental industry who's doing press releases to say, no, we're not a dangerous lodging choice. And my point was, the airline industry, whenever there's an incident, they're constantly putting out information that we're focused on safety. And the same thing happens with the cruise line industry and the hotel industry. But when it comes to the short-term rental industry, we're listed as dodging safety concerns and as a dangerous lodging choice. We have a lot of work to do to fix that image. Now, a lot of people ask me, okay, well, what do we get for smoke alarms so that we can make sure that that doesn't happen to us? Well, you do have to always check your smoke alarms, but there's a QR code over there. If you want to scan that, I want to make sure you can see all my favorite safety products are in there. There's no links to an Amazon store. There's no links. You're going to have to search for them. I don't want anybody to ever get the impression that I'm making money off this. I'm not. I have no stock in First Alert intentionally. They're owned by BRK. But if you want to take a look at my favorite safety products, if you want to scan that, you can see them. And there's lots of different sources out there where you can find those different products that are out there. There's been a lot of changes in smoke alarms, and you should be aware of what those are. UL standards have changed a lot. That's my favorite new smoke alarm that's just come out. It has a 10-year battery in it. If both of those houses had 10-year battery smoke alarms, more than likely, and those early nuisance warnings that they have in them, more than likely we wouldn't have been dealing with the terrible things that happen. It's kind of in the fine print down at the bottom right. I still see a lot of people with the Google Nest smoke alarms. Remember, they have been discontinued. They were discontinued 6 months ago. Consumer Reports always gave them poor ratings. I see tons of them in short-term rentals. If you have those, get rid of them. They're not a good smoke alarm for a short-term rental. And as I said, they have been discontinued by Google. So changes. This is something you need to be aware of. The biggest changes in smoke alarms happened about 9 months ago. Many of you have probably noticed when you go into your local hardware store or into some of the big box stores that there's all this different new smoke alarm brands that are out there. Hopefully, many of you are focused on it as we approach the time to set our clocks back, time to change your batteries. It's also time to change your smoke alarms, especially if they're older than 10 years. This time around, though, I'm recommending you upgrade to the newer smoke alarm types. So, real quick, 268 edition of UL is focused on commercial alarms. They've had a lot of changes. I'm not going to talk about those, but those are the three that are across the top there. If you do have a commercial alarm system in your short term rental, make sure you work with your alarm company to get those upgraded. 217 edition talks about smoke alarms that we have, and they go all the way back to that brown Captain Kelly smoke alarm. And you probably recognize some of those other models. By the way, if you have any of these models in your rental property in your home, get rid of them. Those are all older than 10 years. They don't make them like that anymore. So the new additions are chapters 8 and 9. And look at that, 250 technical changes to smoke alarms with 50 lab tests. They have put a ton of work into this because so many people, and that's what happened probably for both of the situations where people died in short term rentals and hosts went to jail, is that the batteries are in there, they burn popcorn, steam coming out of the shower, a lot of different things. The windows open, the grill blows it in, fog, steam, lots of different things that set off alarms. And then the guests remove the batteries, don't tell anybody. Your cleaner is too busy to check it. You're too busy to check it. You don't live near your property, and months go by, and no one knows that there's actually no batteries in the smoke alarms. Well, with these new changes, they're going to catch that stuff earlier. They're going to provide earlier warning, and they're not going to go off because of burnt popcorn and different things like that. We have to understand that we've got a lot of challenges against us when it comes to smoke and fire. Back in the 70s, back when the Brady Bunch, was hot, all the furnishings that we had in our homes were real wood. They were solid wood. Most of it was made, in the countries where we live. It wasn't imported. It was built with care. It was cotton. Very little plastics were involved with the way that we lived in our homes. Today, we're dealing with synthetic furniture materials, which burn a whole lot faster. There's formaldehyde, there's chemicals. I was a firefighter for 15 years. When I first started as a firefighter, I'd have to wash my gear once a year. By the time I was done, and I'll be honest with you, it's the reason I finished being a firefighter early. It's also a reason why we have such a shortage of firefighters today. It's because you had to wash your gear twice after a fire because there's so many chemicals in it. So many firefighters are getting cancer, and it's all the different chemicals that we had. So in 1970, real materials, you had 15 minutes to get out of your house. That's a reasonable amount of time. You wake up, oh my gosh, the house is on fire. Let's get our photo album. Generally speaking, you aren't going to be overcome by chemicals. Today, you got less than 3 minutes. And if you don't have good smoke alarms in your home, you're not getting out. You're basically going to wake up to flames. And if you wake up to flames or smoke, you're done. That's why it's so important that we have the best smoke alarms, not only in our own homes, but for the guests, the people that we care about. It's hospitality to give the best possible smoke alarms to our guests. Nuisance alarms are the top reason people disable them. This whole standard is going to fix that. So make sure you dive into it. My favorite smoke alarms, again, are in that guide that I shared. Hopefully, you were able to grab hold of that. But if you didn't, I can share it later. These are symbols you want to look for. That UL 217 8th edition, early warning, less nuisance, different things like that. Again, I'm a huge fan of First Alert. If you're dealing with a consumer brand, I'm not a fan of those two ones on the lower right. First Alert hasn't had a recall since 2006. That's pretty awesome. In a world where all kinds of safety products are recalled all the time, here we've got a company that in 20 years it hasn't. So I think that says a lot for what they're offering. Some of the things that you want to do is make sure that You get any new smoke. Basically, if you're in a position where your smoke alarms are over 2 years old, this is unusual, but it's because of these changes. Get new ones. Your guests deserve the best protection. CO only alarms are not affected by this, but as if you've ever heard me speak before, I do not like combination smoke and CO, carbon monoxide alarms. So make sure that you're not combining those together. I haven't seen any good ones. The other big thing that's out there, and I want to make sure everyone's aware of it, is a growing problem. Actually heard of a fire again this morning. There's been so many in the past 9 months. It's been growing for a number of years now, but it's lithium batteries. And you have guests that are bringing lithium battery products into your rental properties all the time. Any of you who have flown recently, you know that when you're on the plane, there's a serious focus from these airline stewardesses and stewards to put your laptops away, and not only put them away, but actually put them in the overhead bins during takeoff. And a lot of people don't know why that is. Well, the reason for that is if it does catch fire, which many do. I was actually on a flight where one did catch on fire. It's very scary. But if one catches on fire, it's much easier to manage that fire in the overhead bin than it is to manage it if it's on somebody's lap and it's bouncing around on the plane. That's why they have you put them away, and they're so serious about it, because there have been fires on planes and we've had several close calls. We've had several close calls at short-term rentals with them as well. This is one that just happened this summer in Florida. That short-term rental burned down and caught another one on fire. And this was started by a guest e-bike, or lithium battery powered bike that they brought with them. And my guess is, and I don't know for a fact, but I've seen it in other situations, probably that host had no idea that the guest was bringing an e-bike, probably had nothing in place for how and where to charge it, probably never even considered that this could be a problem. And so the question then becomes, did they have a 15 amp circuit or a 20 amp circuit? What was the condition of the outlet? What was the condition of the bike? These are all things that are actual controls that we can manage and think about. This is a short-term rental I was at just after it burned down. This one was in Maryland, and this was caused because the host, while they were away, had left two portable drill batteries on a charger. Now, I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I don't think I'm doing it right now myself, but many people are. When you're done charging a battery, you're supposed to unplug the charger. It says it in the instructions. Most people don't do that. That's to prevent something like this from happening. And there's a shot of what that looks like. These fires from lithium batteries, when they catch on fire, these aren't like a little growing fire that, oh, I better grab some water. You can't put these out with water. They are serious hot fires. They explode very quickly. This bike right here caught on fire. That's 2 seconds in. It's like an explosion. They overheat, they catch fire, they explode. And by the time they're caught on fire, it's too late to do anything about it. Huge risk that's there. Well, why is it more of a problem in short-term rentals? Well, this is one example why. Their guests are traveling hundreds of miles with their bike, and that's what happened with that one in Fort Walton Beach. There was damage to the battery. So there's the bike banging on the back of the vehicle. The other big issue is the charger cords. If you look at any battery powered device, scooters, boot heaters, even your cell phones, they all say you have to use the manufacturer's charger cord. Well, what do guests forget all the time? They forget their charger cord. So then they go to Walmart, Target, Home Depot, they buy aftermarket. We've seen fires where people have custom built their own charger cords while they're staying at a property because they forgot it. And that's where the big danger comes in. Also, we're seeing a lot of fires because they're not charging them in the right place. You should never charge a cell phone under a pillow, yet a lot of people are doing that. They bring their cell phones with them on vacation, especially kids. This was a kid's bedroom. This was caught on fire because a child had a cell phone. They weren't used to having it. Normally at home, they only get an hour of use. They're on vacation. Mom and dad weren't paying attention, and so they were just going to town on Instagram. And they put their phone under the pillow. It got overheated, and it caught on and burned the bedroom. So improper charging locations are a big one. The other is, of course, overnight charging. If they've brought their drones, scooters, bikes, all that, you're not supposed to do that. So another big issue to address. The other is improper charging circuits. I visit short-term rentals almost every single week. On average, I'm probably in about 600 to 800 vacation rentals a year while I'm doing safety training around the globe. The one question I always ask people that I get a no answer to, and it shocks me, is I ask, are any of your guests bringing electrical cars? And a lot of people say, no, I don't think so. I don't know. Let me tell you, they are. You have to plan for the fact that every single guest could be driving an electric car. Get this. Most rental car companies are renting them to them and pushing them and giving better prices on them. Trust me, you will have a Tesla at your car, or excuse me, a Tesla or a Ford Mach-E, a Rivian. You will have one of these electric vehicles at your rental in 2026. I can promise you that. And if you haven't planned for where they're going to charge their car, it's not a problem of how much electricity they're going to use. It doesn't cost a lot in electricity. The problem is if you don't have the right amperage circuits and you don't have outside outlets that are designated and set up, you can have a fire. And it's not that electric cars catch on fire more than gas or diesel. Gas or diesel are actually more dangerous, believe it or not. An electric car itself doesn't just catch on fire. It's the charging process and the way that it's set up that causes those issues. So, very important that you're going through your property and noting likely charging areas, making sure that you're, not providing power strips that don't have surge protection. You don't have outlets that are overloaded. You should never have an extension cord in your short-term rental. And that always boggles people when I say that, but you shouldn't, because extension cords are for temporary use only. And it says that in electric code. That's all they're for, quick temporary use. If you're in a situation where you're running extension cords in your short-term rental, it's time to get an electrician in and get it addressed. And then how do we know if there is a fire? A lot of times these fires are in garages, laundry rooms, or areas that you don't have smoke alarms. And so by the time the fires are really big, it's a big problem. You, of course, can't put a smoke alarm in a garage or a laundry room because of steam, dust, all the different things that happen. So that's why you want to use a heat detector or another type of detector, which I'll show you in a minute. So this may seem way over the top to a lot of you, but I just want to remind you, there was a time when people thought changing your oil in your car and owning a car was way over the top. They were still in horse and buggies. We have entered a new era in the global advancement of the use of batteries. It's time that we're starting to put safety warnings in place and remind people when they're bringing foreign lithium batteries that you know nothing about into your home, into an area where it's designated to be safe. I was just in Los Angeles and I was at a short-term rental. They actually had a storage locker for charging. They make those. Excuse me. I see that happening in the future more and more. And if there's a fire from the battery, it's inside of that contained locker and will keep it from happening. So my recommendation is you include a policy in your rental agreement or your guidebook for your safety and the safety of others. Charging of large lithium batteries inside the home is prohibited. List safe charging areas where they can do it in a covered but ventilated area. Make sure it's got a GFI outlet. Make sure you've got a warning sign that says unplug when you're done charging, and that there aren't any flammable materials nearby. So I mentioned something. This is the hottest new safety tool in 60 years anywhere on the globe. Flame detector technology has been around for a while, but it's been extremely expensive. The only place that you could usually find it was like on oil rigs, in heavy duty industrial commercial settings. They finally now have just come out. You can scan that QR code. Again, I don't get any money from this. Buy a bunch. Don't buy a bunch. It's up to you. But I love this. It detects whether a kid's playing with a match. I would put it in a kid's bedroom. It detects if there's a fire in your garage. Now, the cool thing about this is, like, if you got a notification that there's a fire on your smoke alarm, you probably are going to call and do a little research, because you get false alarms all the time with smoke alarms. Same with carbon monoxide. I will tell you, you get a notification from this, there's a flame, and you're going to say, there should not be a flame in my garage right now. You're not going to call and ask people. You're going to dial 911 right away. And it's interesting. I had somebody 2 weeks ago that followed my recommendation on this, and they reached out to me on social media and said, "It worked. We had a fire, and this thing was amazing. The problem is, I think our guest might be getting a divorce." And I went, "Wait, what?" And so I reached out and checked in with him, and turns out one of the guests who was not supposed to be smoking anymore snuck a cigarette out in the garage, and this detection device caught that they lit that cigarette. So they called the fire department, and I can assure you that person will probably never smoke in a garage again in their entire life, because having 3 fire trucks show up and his wife come rushing out and all the notifications going off. So great tool to have. Doesn't replace a smoke alarm, doesn't replace a CO alarm, but it's a supplemental tool that you should have. Just a few thoughts that are out there. I'll leave this up just for a second if you want to take a screenshot of it. Um, I think there should be messaging that goes out, and it might be something like this, and maybe it's a day before your arrival. A lot of companies now, like Wayfair, IKEA, when you order packages, they're sending messages saying, "Hey, there's a red rope, and it helps make sure you secure the furniture to the wall when it arrives." This is commonplace now that we get some sort of warnings. This might just catch the attention of a guest to go, "Oh wow, they want to know from us that we're bringing something more than a phone or a laptop." Yeah, we are bringing an electric car. Yeah, my kid's bringing a scooter. Sure, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Is there a safe place where we can charge it? That might prompt you to go, "Well, how old's the scooter?" And they might say, "Well, he just got it." Okay, well, make sure he uses only the cord that's allowed. So it's just opening up that type of information. Maybe even something as quick and brief as this. If you want to go shorter, hey, you're about to check in. If you're bringing an electric vehicle, e-bike, scooter, drone, or any other lithium battery powered device other than your phone or laptop, please just let us know. We just want to talk with you about where you're going to be charging it and how you're going to manage it. Make sure you got your cords. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that's the mentality you need to have when you're preparing your short-term rental, for guests, for having the best possible hospitality you can have, because at some point in time something is going to happen. And I can't emphasize enough from a liability protection side to document. I have many customers who've reached out to me over the past several years, more so lately than ever, that, "Oh my gosh, thank gosh we documented this because otherwise we would have been sued." Simple things like documenting, having the cleaner on their checklist document that the lights work, and take a picture, put it in their app. Hopefully you're using Breezeway, and have that. And then if 3 months down the line you get a claim that they slipped and fell and they say it was because it was dark when they arrived, you can say, "No, it wasn't. We've got a geotag dated photo showing that it was." This is an example of how that happens in Breezeway. We're documenting, different things that are out there, whether it's in the app or how you're taking pictures that you've got GFI outlets. This one, of course, is my favorite one. Making sure you're vacuuming your smoke alarms. If you look at your instruction manual for your smoke alarm, most say that they need to be vacuumed at least once a month. Some of the newer ones are saying once a year. That's why you have false alarms, because you haven't been doing that. So having those tasks set up and keeping good documentation is important. People ask me for my safety checklist all the time, and I'm going to give you access to it in a minute. But if you want to cheat and you don't have a whole lot of time and you just want to go to it, this barcode will take you to an inspection I did of a property 2 years ago. And you can see what type of things you should be documenting on an annual basis, in an inspection report, and showcasing in case something ever does happen. This would have helped protect those folks that got into trouble. I travel all over the world doing this, talking about safety, working with companies. I'm always happy to come work with anybody. I think I'm headed to Denver, Idaho, Utah, and Missouri next week. So I'm on the road again. Follow me on social media. You can find out where I am. But whatever you do, make sure you're checking your smoke alarms as a task. I don't want to see anybody go to jail again. This is something that will keep you out of it. Your cleaners should have this as a task. Every single turnover, checking them, making sure they're working, because that one time they don't, is going to be something that's not going to go well for you. I'm just one part of what 𝐕𝐢𝐫𝐭𝐮𝐷 does, safety over there on the bottom right. 𝐕𝐢𝐲 has a lot of other different products. Our core product, of course, is our software with work coordination, task automation, but we also help manage inventory and supplies, and focus on guest messaging, different things like that. And here we are at the gift I'm going to give all of you. Whether you have a company or as an individual, if you would like to become a short-term rental safety inspector, and go through the 𝐕𝐢𝐲 safety course, take a screenshot of that. It's $350 because you came on here and listened to me talk about safety for half an hour. I'm going to give you free access to the course. The cool thing about it is that if you do get 𝐕𝐢𝐲 safety certified and you use proper insurance, you can get up to 10% off your annual premium just for being safety certified. That saves $300 to $400 a year on their average premium. So huge saving opportunity there. That free STRHS is the code. It only works through the end of the year. So definitely take advantage of it. If you're in Florida, we have a Florida version, we have a Spanish version, and Jody's been pushing me. We're going to come to Australia here with the Australian version soon as well.
That is so awesome.
That's
really
what we got. That's
what an opportunity to monetize for sure, right? But,
oh
but
yeah,
but more important, become the expert for your guests. The expert that your guests. I mean, think about that. We're booking a luxury vacation rental, and on there, and we're going through, and we're paying $10,000 for this place for a week, and we're looking through the listing to say, well, why would I spend that much money? Who is this person? What's really happening? What's and you see, oh, this person is certain. It's not something the average guest would ever think about asking. But here's what it would do is it would probably most likely differentiate your listing in your market from 99.9% of all the other listings because not everybody's doing this, right? And so that what a differentiator and a value add. That's really, really cool. A different spin on that than I was expecting.
yeah, yeah. And you know what's interesting is that when I'm traveling around and I'm sitting on airplanes, I'm sure you've done this, and I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching this session have done this. You're sitting next to somebody, and somehow it comes up in conversation. Well, what do you do? Where are you going? And when I explain what I do to people, they're always shocked to think that this isn't normal. I hear all the time, "Oh, I stay in Airbnbs all the time. I've never thought about." So wait a minute, who does check all that?
Yeah.
They don't know. And if you were to reach out and tell your guests, "Hey, by the way, um, you know, the guy who I bought this house from went to Home Depot, wired the whole thing himself and set it all up, and hopefully you make it through the night." People would be blown away. So
Yeah.
huge opportunity there. Any other industry, if you're a chef, an auto mechanic, you work at a hotel, you're required to take mandatory safety training. And people forget that the home is the most dangerous place. So safety training is important. So I hope people take advantage of this great offer.
Love that. Does it work in South America?
Yeah, there's a Latin American version there. We filmed it in Costa Rica. So there's a Costa Rican accent to it, but absolutely.
Beautiful. Absolutely love that. Jonathan Wicks chimed in. Mandatory safety training is a coming. It sounds like it. I mean, and that you guys are ahead of that. So
Yeah, I'm actually glad you mentioned Jonathan Wicks. I gotta get back to him. We Jonathan and I were just in Colorado, and we filmed a cleaner version for cleaners in the industry. It'll be about a 1 hour course for your cleaners to take. It's coming out soon. Jonathan Wicks is the lead. That guy is amazing when it comes to
well,
leading his team.
I'll tell you what. I can't see everybody. You can't see everybody here, right? Right now, you and I just see each
Yeah,
other.
right.
But let's just see it in the comment box real quick. Throw your hands up if you want your cleaners to take that training. Or do something. Say me. Say throw a hands up. Yep, exactly. There we go. We
I'm
got
seeing,
we got them
I'm
thumbs up.
seeing
We
the
got them
thumbs
comment.
up.
I mean, come on. I mean, this is I mean, you make or break your life on your housekeepers, right? So, Justin, this has been fantastic. Second time I've seen you pour value in, and it just never disappoints. And it's always great reminders. Headspace for me to go to my team and say, hey guys, are we doing this? Are we doing this? Are we doing this? So thanks so much for all you do for the industry, making it better, keeping the A players A players, and we can't wait to see the next one.
Awesome.
All right, have a good one, Joseph. See you guys.